Alright, so I have no idea when this video is actually going to go ahead and go up because I have no idea if the Thanksgiving banner is up right now, if it's going to drop tomorrow night, if I've already dropped this and the Thanksgiving banner is up, but basically we're going to continue the Low Star Legend series, talking about the Lancer that I probably should have talked about first, which is Ku Lancer, the original OG Ku Lancer. Nothing against my boy Proto-Ku, I really just wanted to give him a little bit of love, but yeah, this is kind of like the definitive, or at least one of the definitives, like, servants you level up first, because this guy will pretty much carry you through any boss fight in the game. He's, like, almost impossible to get rid of. So much so that his, like, survivability is almost infamous in the community about how he's able to pretty much solo any fight in the entirety of the game. I think there are quite literally only like 2 or 3 fights that he's not able to solo, which is just absolutely insane when you consider this guy is a free servant that everybody has access to at bare minimum from the friend point gacha and every single banner in the game. It's a little nutty that he's just that good. And would you believe me if I told you there are people that haven't leveled up this guy? It's absolutely baffling if you do not have your Ku leveled, and maybe this video will give you a couple of reasons why you should go ahead and level up your Ku. But before we begin, if you have not already, make sure you leave a like on the video, you subscribe to the channel, and you peep that Twitch for the weekday streams. Although right now I'm on vacation, so my schedule's a little bit wonky. I wanted to stream every single day, but then I was like, oh yeah, friends and family kind of want to hang out while I'm down here. Yeah, let me prioritize the friends and family over the stream, so you'll see some streams every now and then, you know, whenever I'm able to get to it. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into this, starting off with Ku's hits. So it kind of feels bad that we're down to like year 1 servants again, but Ku actually does have some decent hits, I suppose, if you want to say that his NP game kind of makes up for it. I mean, the hits are very, very low, but if you're getting crits, and you know, you can get some crits every now and then with a quick chain with his NP plus the 2 quick cards, you might be able to refund a decent bit of your NP back, but I really wouldn't count on it too much because his star gen stat isn't exactly super insane. So while you can gen some stars and maybe get a lucky arts crit in there somewhere, it's really not going to be all that consistent. And for some of you guys that aren't aware, the reason I'm kind of mentioning doing all that, you know, doing quick change with his NP consistently, is that Ku is what is known as a solo servant, meaning you want to have him be by himself to get the most use out of him. Because you don't want other servants kind of clogging up the card pool that he has. You want him to be able to like freely like get to his NP, do his own damage, and kind of just survive by himself as long as possible. Obviously, you can buff him up with other people. You can bring him with like a Skadi and a Waver to try to like help him out with damage plus survivability if you want. But he's one of those servants that really requires no help to be really good. And I'll show you why by starting off with his first skill. So skill 1 gives him a 5-turn guts that also gives him an attack buff, because we all know that Ku just wasn't doing enough damage. That is based on his remaining HP. So basically, the lower his HP gets, the more damage he's going to be able to do, and that lasts for 3 turns on a 6-turn cooldown. This is already a little nutty because the guts, as you'll notice, is up for 5 turns. The cooldown is 6 turns, meaning there's only ever going to be like 1 turn that you don't have the guts up. Meaning, you can pretty much always slap the guts on. That way you at least have the cooldown running, right? That way, if your guts happens to get procced, you at least have the cooldown kind of going down already, and it just helps you out for his general survivability. And the attack is just really nice, because I guess one of the things with like Ku solos is that if you were doing like a neutral solo, like you were fighting a rider or something, it could have taken like kind of a long time to clear some of those, because, you know, he's obviously just doing neutral damage and he had like no attack buffs really. So it kind of helps speed things along, which I think is kind of nice, but really not super needed, but kind of nice if you have like a weaker Ku, like yours is maybe only level 70 and you haven't like put grails or anything into him. It might help you secure those kills a little bit faster, or if you're not as used to like doing the stall team, might give you a little bit of leeway because you're doing slightly more damage. Just kind of nice in general. Moving on to his second skill, this is one of the most broken defensive skills in the entirety of the game. It's why when I refer to like different skills that just give you like 3 evasions that are not turn-based, or 3 invincibilities that are not turn-based, I refer to it as like the Ku dodge skill, because it's pretty much like made infamous by him, because it just gives you 3 free hits of evasion that never wear off until they're used, and that lasts for 5 turns, while also giving him like a 16% defensive buff for 3 turns, because, you know, he's not thick enough already. This is just like generally insane, because a lot of different survivability buffs either just protect you from 1 turn, or they give you like those 3 hits, but eventually they wear off after like 3 turns or even like 5 turns if you're lucky. And so this is actually just really nice because it's like one of the most maximum value skills you get in the game, because you get all of the effects every single time. You never waste a single one unless the enemy has like sure hit or pierce invincibility, in which case you're kind of just relying on that defensive buff to put in work with the guts. But still, in that case, you might not want to bring Ku to those fights. And even then, if they're like an archer or something, he might just be able to out DPS them with the guts. That actually just might be enough. So even then, even if they have something like sure hit, if he's got like advantage, he might just actually obliterate them before they obliterate him, which is just kind of sick. But yeah, I don't really need to like talk too much about this skill because I feel like the value just speaks for itself. The third skill is what kind of like wraps the bow on this gift that is Ku to the players, because it gives him a debuff cleanse and a small heal that's on a 5-turn cooldown. The reason this is kind of nice is that now Ku has like 3 different forms of protection. Technically 4 if you count the HP, and 5 if you count the defensive buff that he's getting, because he has a guts that basically says, if you pierced all my defenses, I can still revive myself. I've got the 3 dodges that generally make me untouchable. If you do hit me with like some annoying debuffs, I'm able to remove those, and I have a little bit more longevity because the guts revives me at 2500 and I have a 1500 heal. It does mean that he actually can kind of slowly start regenerating as the fight goes on, or at least kind of keep himself topped off a little bit as long as you're playing smart. Now, do keep in mind that this does not apply to like stuns or charms, because you can't remove your own stun or charm because you're stunned or charmed and you can't use your skills. Honestly, sometime in the future, I hope they fix that to make these like debuff cleanse skills even more valuable, but we'll see if Lysenko goes ahead and does that. Overall, everything here with the different skills are just doing their best to actually keep Ku alive, and based on the intro of this video, you would know that he's doing a pretty good job at that. The icing on the cake here is the NP. Not only is it buff, so again it does a little bit more damage because of the improved damage scaling, but it has just very nice effects on it. So for one, it pierces evasion. So if you have some boss that's going to pop like a random dodge to try to keep themselves alive, Ku says absolutely not to that, because it also applies to all the cards that are following his NP, because it's for the entire turn, which is very nice. Then he kind of like builds up damage as he fires his NP, because you'll see that he has that little defensive down that he applies to the opponent after he hits them, kind of like Saber Lancelot, kind of that philosophy for like every subsequent NP that you fire is going to do more and more damage. The only problem is that Ku, again, like I mentioned at the beginning, can kind of struggle to get back to his NP because, well, his Stargen's not like super great. And while he does have very high NP gain, you really need to get those crits on the arts card to get like maximum value out of that, unless you're running like a double Scotty setup or like a double ruler Scotty setup, where they're massively gassing up his quick performance to buff the NP gain of those quick cards. Then those crits might actually give him a little bit of NP as well. And then just like the final icing on the cake is the insta-kill here. Because if you're fighting some like, I don't know, like random big bronze enemy, or even maybe a big silver enemy, you might be able to get this insta-kill off and then just end the fight entirely and the annoyance is over. While it's not super common, it is something that you can kind of take advantage of. I wouldn't count on ever getting this on servants, because servants are basically like impossible to insta-kill unless it's like specifically some story gimmick you got going on. Like I know there's like one fight where you're supposed to use Passion Lip to insta-kill an opponent, and like that's specifically them setting you up to be able to do stuff like that. But yeah, overall, Ku is one of those servants that I think a lot of people should level up, because if you are struggling with a boss, or if you think there's going to be a boss you're going to struggle with in the future, Ku is always a really good option into those. He is a servant that you really want to go ahead and max out his skills, because solo servants, you want to get those maximum cooldowns. If you don't know, when you get to level 6 and 10, you actually chip 1 turn off the cooldown off that skill. And for Ku, being a survival servant, you really want to be able to see those skills as soon as possible. Although maybe you're low on QP, maybe you're low on materials, you're a newer player, if you happen to have something like the Volumen Hydrogyrum, that CE, I can't pronounce it to save my life, the one with Kaneth on it that gives you 3 hits of invincibility, a nice cheese strat is that you can put that on Ku, and it allows you to also pop his second skill. That way you kind of have the second skill already on cooldown, and the hits will actually take the invincibilities first, so you don't even waste the dodges. So that's kind of like a little strat you can do if maybe you don't have the materials to bring your Ku to like all the way to skill 10, but you're like, oh, I happen to have this CE that's in like every single banner. That's always a really good strategy you could go ahead and go with. But again, let me know in the comments down below what you think of Ku. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. I love this dude. But I don't know, maybe after like the Serranos fight, everyone's like, nah, Ku sucks now. But I can't imagine anybody saying that, because if you've ever used Ku, he's probably saved your butt in at least one fight. Even if you want to use him as like an anchor, and if, again, you're a newer player and you don't know what that means, it means you have your normal setup. Let's say you got your like double Scotty and your Tai-Gong, you know, you're gonna go fight a fight, you know, that's your setup. You're using a Scotty, Ruler Scotty, Tai-Gong, but you put Ku all the way in the back, just in case something goes wrong, just in case your main lineup gets defeated. Ku can come in and be your anchor and kind of be the cleanup crew. And I know that I've had him do that for me a couple of times in some fights that I've been doing a little bit of a whack setup, let's say, to say the least. So again, even good if you don't want to use him primarily as a soloer, you can use him as an anchor. Many different things this guy is able to do. The only thing I really want to see him get in the future is like maybe a battery or an NP gain skill, or even a skill that allows him to kind of like bomb stars to kind of help with his NP refund. I think that's really the only thing that he kind of like consistently struggles with. Or they could just give him like a big special damage mod. I don't know if they just want him to start like nuking people. That's also kind of cool if they want to do that. But yeah, I've rambled enough. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace late, guys.